My major is kinesiology, and what I'm involved with on campus, there's a lot. So I'm event coordinator for Kinesiology Club. I'm a JSAC manager, 1828 ambassador, campus visit assistant in Office of Admissions, and I'm the current 2024 Miss Augusta University.
I chose kinesiology because I have an older brother who is severely autistic, and I grew up with him in physical, occupational, and speech therapy, and I saw how much occupational therapy helped, and I also love little kids. So pediatric occupational therapy is literally playing with little kids who have disabilities to help them.
Welcome aboard, my good people. I'm A.B. Osborne. I'm the director of the animation program and also assistant professor of animation. I do the things that make the fun characters move in video games and in feature films, and I teach students how to do that. So the good news is I've done this quite a bit, right? I often run camps for high schoolers, and a lot of people have the enthusiasm, right? They're playing games, they're watching movies, but they have to start somewhere. Nobody learns these programs accidentally. They may have drawn since they were a kid, but they've never tried these 3D programs. So I've got a really good process to get people immersed in figuring it out very quickly. Again, animation's that skill set around video games and movies, and a lot of what we do is taking characters and bringing them to life. And so for this particular exercise, what we're going to do is the students are going to be able to play with what's called a character rig, almost like playing with a digital action figure. It's already set up, ready to move, and they're just going to play around with it in the 3D program.
I expect to learn the bare minimum, at least. Just like the simple task, if I have to use the software or something, maybe I might be able to apply it to that. Hopefully I remember everything. Yeah.
I think it'll be easier than some just because I am decently tech savvy already. Like, I spend most of my time, if I'm not doing school or work or shadowing or anything else, that other responsibilities, I'm on my computer upgrading things, working on things, just minor projects, 3D printing, modeling, just stuff like that.
Today we're doing a little rigging thing, posing a character. I believe it's Yang. Don't get at me if I said the wrong character. That's the only word I remember. But we basically just learned how to pose it. Well, we're learning how to pose it and just moving different parts of the body. So like the elbows, head, even the teeth, the mouth, things like that. And we're just being creative, putting our little art hat on and putting it in a different pose. I am putting it in a little ballerina pose. I'm putting it on this little tippy toes and everything. And yeah, very fun. I'm enjoying it, so.
I think one of the biggest things I want people to take away when they do things like this is just understanding what all goes in animation. One, it's not starving artist stuff. I mean, these are serious businesses, hundreds of billions of dollars feeding into it annually. Especially in Georgia. Georgia's a good market for entertainment right now. So just kind of showcasing what goes into it. And even though it seems like it's fun and games, we're spending a lot of the time in front of the computer taking it very seriously. The amount of labor that goes into one production. If you watch something like a Pixar movie, that's an hour and a half long, but it took artists 4 or 5 years to make and a team of hundreds of people working 60, 80-hour work weeks. So it's a very big commitment, but then that $200 million production budget often turns into $1 billion by the end of it. So they definitely make money.
Today we're creating like a seesaw, and I am currently putting the seesaw, having I call it the birthday hat, and 3 little donuts, and I'm trying to catapult it off of its foundation. Very successful. I got all 3 of my donuts off the ground. Well, past the ground. And yeah.
Honestly, I was trying to break it a little bit. I play a lot of games with very heavy physics engines in it, and one of the things I enjoy doing is finding small little details and little things I can do to break the physics engines in the game. So I was trying to find a way I could break it very easily and not cause the render to take too long.
It was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. Me personally, I don't have a lot of background in animation or just like everything that goes into it. So it was really cool seeing just like the small amount of foundation that I did learn and all the things that go into it. It was a lot, honestly. There was a lot of things on the screen at the same time. It's hard for me to focus on all that, but I was able to have some type of creativity with it and kind of just like settle down on the things that we were told to look at. So it was very fun in my opinion. There were multiple times where I was like, what did you just say? What are you doing? And he was like, I'll just come over, I'll help you out. And it didn't make me seem as lost as I was. So I think he's a very good professor and I recommend him to anyone or everyone.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Hannah Bennett. I am an associate professor in kinesiology and I'm also our undergraduate program director. On campus, I'm involved in quite a bit. I'm the chair of the athletics committee for the Faculty Senate. I am on the Council of Equity Leaders and really involved in a lot of our diversity initiatives. I think they're going to be a bit surprised. When you think about the definition of kines, it's hard to define, so it's the study of movement, and that sounds very broad, and it is. And so I think that they are very much going to think very skeletal and anatomy, which 100% is what we do, but we also focus on things like quality of life and wellness and mental health, which I think gets lost in the mix sometimes. So they're going to get a bit of both when they work with me.
Well, currently we are working on our rigging classes, which is technical animation and rigging, is where we build the skeletons of the actual models to make them move. A lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be originally, figuring out what can and can't happen on the human body. I would love to kind of bring back some of that information so I can better make my rigs move. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Probably a lot of stuff I've either forgotten from like past like experiences and like a lot of STEM classes and stuff like that, but hopefully a lot of new things that I was just, maybe things that I can bring back into like animation with like body movement and all that, and how like real people will like kind of move. So yeah.
I'm not really a sports person. I kind of have mobility issues, so overall just learning what I can do and overall what's a part of this program would be exciting for me.
All right, so today when they come in, they're going to have 3 different activities. The first 2 are going to be focused on what I would do in my sports psychology class, and one of them is a concentration grid. And with the concentration grid, they've got the numbers from 00 to 99, and the objective is to find those numbers in order as fast as possible, or get to as far as they can within a certain time frame, which is 4 minutes. So the first 2 minutes is completely silent. They get to try and focus on the numbers at hand. They get to look at the paper. They don't have anyone distracting them. And then at the 2-minute mark, I play The Flight of the Bumblebee. And I play it very loudly so that they have some sort of external distractor. And then after those 2 minutes is up, we talk about where they are and what number they found, and then we will talk about how our mind can wander and how we can refocus back at the task at hand. We also talk about how distractions can be helpful or a hindrance depending upon what they are, and that everything is pretty subjective when it comes to this. All right, and the second activity that they're going to do is one of my favorite activities for communication. It's a 4-minute activity again, and I'm going to have one of the students be the descriptor, and the other 2 are going to be the artists, if you will. I think it's a really great crossover between animation and kinesiology, and I'm excited to see how they do. It's going to be very fun to see how one person will describe it and the other 2 will interpret just using their words. They won't be able to see anything. They won't be able to show each other what they're drawing or what they're trying to draw, and they'll just have to use their words to explain what is in front of them, and the 2 that are drawing it will have to interpret that to the best of their ability. Something that I thought was really cool, that was different from working with some kines students, is how Jazz approached the communication activity. So when they were describing the elephant, and I was listening to them describe it and watching the other 2 interpret what they were describing, it was interesting because they approached it in a way that I may not have approached it. And I think that's also something that's really cool, is that when it comes to these concepts in sports psychology, it's very subjective, And so what works for someone isn't going to work for someone else. And even though I may not have approached it in the same way or have described it in the same way, Jazz did such a fantastic job at utilizing a lot of descriptors and saying things in a way that the people that she was, or that they were working with, were able to interpret it in a way that made sense for them. And that's what's really valuable about some of these activities, is that we're given the opportunity to allow them to be unique and creative in who they are. And I love seeing that. And that was probably one of my favorite parts about working with them, is because this is a great crossover between some of the kinesiology stuff and animation. And I was really excited to see how they would interpret that activity.
Having to draw the elephant was very interesting, because I've seen videos of people kind of doing a similar thing where they'll put a piece of paper on someone's back and they will draw something, and then the other person who has a piece of paper on their back will draw something on their piece of paper that is taped up to a wall or on a board or something like that. And I was just thinking it was just like I don't know, you know how people will just put weird things on the internet, or just like trivial things. I thought it was one of those, but then it had actual applications to things, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And as we were doing that, a lot of it was just kind of ringing in my head, just like, you know, this is kind of similar to things we kind of have, like concepts we have to like learn and kind of know about in animation.
I think the activity that stuck out to me the most, because it's something that could pertain to something that I do now, is the first activity we did, where it was the communication. Communication is a massive aspect in our animation environment. If we don't communicate, we're not getting anything done. So I found that really interesting, because it's also, it takes aspects from both things. You get to sit there and you get to communicate and you get to walk through that process, but then you also you get to see the person as an individual and what they picture when something is described to them, which is a massive part of like the previs phase. If you can tell you can hand someone a script, but everyone's going to have a different interpretation of what that script is going to look like, and that's kind of what that 4-minute little exercise showcased. Oh, I loved her. I'm already considering taking classes in the spring as soon as I can. She is so much fun to be around. She's the kind of professor that I would sit around and talk with after class, if I like, just to kind of, I can't say what I wanted to say. If I wanted to have a conversation that's maybe unrelated to school, she's someone I would be friends with. She's really nice.
I think what stuck out to me is the fact that a lot of the concepts that we learned can be applied to animation. So communication is one. It's really a communication-heavy industry, and you know, teamwork is really essential